saw this thing on Facebook about Grease, the film, and oh my god, it's insane. It's a completely sexualised film. Completely sexualised film. A couple of iffy moments in there. But to say that it's because it's a sexualised film, it should be banned, they shouldn't play it anymore, they should get rid of it. It's a classic for a start. Absolutely brilliant film. Love Grease Lightning. Oh, epic. Love it. And they said that, and there's a lot of comments saying that Sandy shouldn't change for a man. She shouldn't do it. Oh no, that's evil, that's wrong. Thing is, Sandy didn't change for Danny. If you watch her character arc, she starts off this really shy, really unconfident, very insecure character. Hooks up with Frenchie, I think she's a cousin, not 100% sure, it's been a while since I saw it. And she starts to spend a lot of time with the Pink Ladies, where you've got very strong, very confident, very capable women. And she starts to notice her own insecurities. And so as the film goes on, she starts to change that. Frenchie and the Pink Ladies start to show her how to change who she is, to start to live a little. And as she starts to do that, she grows in confidence. Her insecurities kind of start fading away. So by the end, and then she asks Frenchie to help her because she wants to change her own persona. She wants to change the way she dresses because she's fed up of looking skirts down to her fucking ankles and cardigans, and she wants to reflect on the outside the confidence that she's beginning to feel, and she doesn't know how to do it. But Frenchie does. The Pink Ladies do. So they help her, and they really, and you watch it as she goes along. And although it isn't until the end that you see that, because it's dramatic, and that's how the filmmakers do it. But you watch her character arc, and although I don't know the whole timeline in direct order, because it's been a while since I've seen it, you see it from when she first sees Danny at the fire, at the big game thing, and where she's very insecure, and she goes up to him, and then she gets really kind of put out and really kind of upset. And then you see it again with the movie, where she kind of gets all whatever, and then she slaps him, and and then she runs away, really upset and really kind of, oh, why was me? And then he tries again, and they go on that date, but by this time, and then she doesn't talk to him, and then they go and do that car race thing, and she's watching that, and she's watching the Pink Ladies and the T-Birds. What she sees, Danny and Kaniki, they have this moment where they kind of become quite vulnerable at the start line, and she sees all that because she's watching it, and she watches the whole thing, and you don't notice she's watching it until right at the end, because she wants to make sure nothing happens to Danny, because she knows he's driving, because she's seen it, she's seen that exchange. So she knows, she's seen that. So she's noticed that Danny and Kaniki have this thing, and Danny isn't just this tough guy persona, raw, bad boy kind of whatever. There's something more there. And so at the end of that race, when Frenchie notices her, she goes, right, I need your help. Come and help me, I need to change. I want to change. I want, there's something I need help with. And then a bit later on, Danny kind of realises that, and then Danny notices her, and he realises that she's seen him, and she was there for him. And it kind of clicks in his head a bit, because then she starts dating the jock and he doesn't like it and he starts getting really jealous. So he tries to change for her. See, and that's the difference. See, in that movie, he changes for her. He starts running track and he really knuckles down at work. In his schoolwork and in everything else, he really knuckles down. So he's the only one of the T-Birds that actually graduates secondary school, and she grows in so much confidence, because when they go on that date, she's the one who really makes most of those moves. She's the one who's really kind of reaching out. She's the one who's really kind of having this conversation. And she's the one, although Danny's still kind of Danny's the one who's feeling very kind of insecure. And when that's what happens on their date. She's confident, she's secure, she's very kind of, I'm here. And he's the one feeling very kind of unsure of himself. Oh my God, what am I doing here? And he's trying to hide. And when all the rest turn up, everyone goes, oh, it's just because that's where everyone goes, and he doesn't want to be whatever. But it's him. He's the one who's insecure, not her. Whereas at the beginning, it was the other way around. So by the end, she has grown in so much confidence that she rocks that catsuit because she wanted to. She oozes confidence and sexual energy. Absolutely fucking oozes it. She rocks it and she loves it. Loves every second of it. You know, you can see it. She's absolutely just, I'm here. Notice me. This is who I am. Come and get it. And she's loving it. It's like, I'm Sandy. I'm here. Come and get it, boys. She is oozing it. She didn't do it for Danny. She did it for her. And she's rocking it and she's loving it. Danny, on the other hand, changed for her. And then realised that he had finally found who he really was. And right at the very end, when she kind of turned up, he realised he didn't need to do that. He just needed to be himself. And everything kind of balanced out. But the sexual tension and the sexualisation of that entire film has not changed. It's still very relevant today. The only thing that has changed, there are a few things that have changed, like the stigmatisation around teenage pregnancies and single mothers. Kind of, I mean, there's still some stigmatisation around single mothers, but you know, the stigmatisation around teenage pregnancies has gone. People aren't so funny about it like they were in the 50s with, you know, what they were projecting with Rizzo. But apart from that, the sexualisation they had in that film, I think, is way worse now than it ever was back then. I mean, we've hit 2022 and we're teaching our 8-9-year-olds sex ed. Something never happened before. Not ever. That never happened. I did not get taught sex ed in primary school, neither did my mum, and neither did my gran. We got to secondary school, bunch of 11-year-olds, halfway through, year 7, sex ed was on the agenda. And we all remember sitting there, all through, and we had year 8 and year 9, and we all remember, every single time it appeared on the curriculum, we all remember sitting there, bunch of teenagers, young teenagers, every time they did sex ed in school, giggling and laughing because it was funny, because they were talking about penises and vaginas and condoms, and it was hilarious. Oh, they're talking about sex, because we were teenagers and we'd never heard it before, not at school. Even if we'd heard it at home, we'd never heard it at school, and it was hilarious. You know, a bunch of teenagers, oh. And we were laughing not because it was funny, but because it was embarrassing. You know, it was fucking embarrassing. You know. And now, 21st century, my son, my 8-year-old, when my son was 8, he learnt about sex. Sex education in fucking year 8 He was 8 years old. Fucking 8, 9-year-old. My son, in primary school, learning about sex ed. This is a very sexualised world. Far more sexualised now than it ever was in the 1950s. So if you're going to rag on a film because of the sexualisation and the confidence that oozed off of Olivia Newton-John, because she was playing a character that changed, that sort of, that changed her entire appearance from being this geeky girl with no confidence to this absolutely awesome woman who oozed confidence and sexual energy at the end. Take a good look around us. We're raising a bunch of kids who are going to learn all about sex education at a very young age. They're going to be sexualised at the age of 8, 9 years old. Right? And not only are they going to be sexualised at the age of 8, 9 years old, but we as adults sexualise everything. We do. I mean, I started following a paramedic, a nurse, who talks about things like that and how people who come into the ER stick things up their hoo-has. And you just sit there and think, well, it's true. How many women stick things up themselves for pleasure and then post things all over the internet? How many women think it's really funny to sexualise men but hate the concept of being sexualised themselves? How many women dress like this or similar to this and do not like being sexualised, yet will sexualise everybody, will sexualise men regardless? The concept of do not sexualise women for what they wear and how they look, but we're allowed to sexualise men because they're men and they enjoy it, and they have to enjoy it because they're men and they get random bonus, and that's okay. It doesn't work both ways. You can't sexualise women, you can't sexualise men and not have women be sexualised. Doesn't work both ways. And just because a woman is confident enough to be wearing stuff like this doesn't mean that she gives consent to do stuff sexually. Just means that she's confident enough in herself to wear it, knowing that she's going to be sexualised, that men are going to look at her, women are going to look at her. That's the problem with today's world. So busy judging each other that they forget to look in the mirror. Can't watch this on TV because it's sexualised. But you can send your 8-year-old to school to get sex education. You can't watch that. Oh no, now he's being whatever. But you can put your 3-year-old in a bikini on the beach, right? Not the same thing? Maybe not. But it's the same principle. See, women get judged for what we wear and how we look. You don't want your children to be sexualised. Don't put them in sexualisation clothing. Women are sexualised when they wear bikinis. So by putting your children in bikinis, what do you think is going to happen to them on a beach amongst lots of people? People are going, oh, isn't that cute, she's in a bikini. And then there's going to be that random weirdo. Whether that random weirdo is female or whether that random weirdo is male, it makes no difference. There will always be that random weirdo that's never been caught, that's never been noticed, that nobody's ever paid attention to. Whether that random regardless of whether that random weirdo is male or female, there will always be one that's going to look at that little 3-year-old in her bikini and have very weird thoughts and sexualise your 3-year-old. No, never change for a man. So why do you wear makeup? Why do you put on your best clothes? Why, when you want his attention, do you dress up for him? See, you make choices every day and you will sexualise yourself for somebody you care about when you want their attention. But you're blasting a film because it's sexualised? Seriously? Have you heard the music we listen to? I mean, realistically, every song we ever listened to growing up was sexual. Pretty much. Spice Girls, to become one. Pretty much everything we ever listened to was sexual. But nobody's blasting, the music industry for sexualising their music. Nobody's blasting all the artists. Nobody's blasting the clothing industry or, music industry or, the sex industry for sexualising everything. Or even the internet. Who's blasting the internet for sexualising things? It's everywhere. Stop blasting stupid, ridiculous things like films, especially classics. Because classics and it is a classic, it was made in the 70s. And just because they bring it out once a year, you're going to blast on it because it's sexual. It's sexual. We're going to blast it. So blast the internet because there's a lot of things on the internet that are sexual. Blast the clothing industry because there's a lot of clothing out there that's classed as sexual. Blast the shoe industry. Guarantee these boots will be classed as sexual. Right? How about blasting the music industry? Because the music industry is extremely sexual. How about things like, is it Spice Girls? The one song that comes to mind, To Become One. Love that song. Sang it a lot growing up. 1990s teenager right here. Okay? Got to just stop it. Oh, and then of course you send your kids to school. 8-year-olds learning about sex. So how about everybody kind of grows up, and when you can stop sexualizing yourselves, maybe, so stop having sex, stop talking about sex, stop making an effort in the bedroom, with your partner, sexualizing, making that kind of effort for your partner, because, you need to, stop sexualizing everything about yourself. Then go on the internet and blast Grease. Because unless you can stop sexualizing every aspect of your entire personality and your entire being, and stop judging somebody else and classing somebody else as being sexual, like a man, like calling a man sexual, calling another woman sexual, and judging her for what she wears and what she does. You know, because if you've got to kind of stop doing that too, you know, like, oh, that man's very nice, I could do him, you know, stop saying things like that too. You know, vice versa, if you're a man, oh yeah, that woman's nice, I could do her, you know. So unless you're going to remove every sexual part of your entire being, where, you know, I don't know, become Amish? You know, Amish and asexual, there you go. Perfect combination. You do that, then maybe, just maybe, you'd have the right to do things like blasting a film for being sexual. Because we are far more sexual now than we ever were back then. At least openly. Try it. Go on. Because guarantee, openly, the two societies put someone in the 1950s in 2022, shock of their life. They would be absolutely disgusted by the way we live and the sexualization of the society that we live in, the way that we dress, the things that we listen to, the way we speak. They wouldn't even dream of doing, at least openly. It's private. And the stigmatisation around, you know, cohabitation and, you know, teenage pregnancies from the 1950s. They saw that now. The shock they would get about how normal that is now. Especially teenage pregnancies. How normalised we've made that. So, 1950s, that would have been a disgrace. That would have been horrible. They wouldn't even considered it as a normal thing to have in society. Whereas now, it's so normal, we don't even blink. So people need to get off their high horses, stop being so fucking ridiculous. And quite frankly, it's hilarious that people think that films can be evil because they have sex in them and they have sexual agendas. If they're that bad for them, they need to join the Amish community and become asexual, because then and only then will they ever get away from sex and sexual agendas and sexual innuendos and sexual anything. Because the Amish community is very God-based and it's very, well, very old-fashioned to the point of, you know, you won't have the internet and you won't have this and you won't have that, and you will be very, very, very godly. And the only time you would ever have sex unless, you know, you are, you know, the only way the Amish ever have sex is if they're married. You won't even be left alone with someone of the opposite sex until you're married. So, if you have such an issue with it, join the Amish community. And God be